Hey, Chad, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yes, ma'am, Breezy. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad to get you in here in the new year, talk about 798 and your time with them. You are the former director of organizing, correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
And how long were you in that position?
A little over 3 years.
Okay, so you had a lot of activity within 798, but you've been a member for a long time.
Yes, ma'am. 38 years.
It's quite a while.
Yeah.
I think you were telling me that you're third generation pipeliner, second gen 798.
Yeah, that's correct. My grandfather was an operating engineer. He was superintendent for Reading and Bates. Was in the forefront of the HDD development, and then my father was a welder in 798. 53-year member when he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time. And, I know I've been around 798 for a long time, and I know that, the family legacy is really important. There's a lot of pride in the organization and in pipeline in general. So it's a lot of it is that generational, just like I said, it's pride and it's there's a lot of value with being in 798. But you were also saying that about your grandfather with the horizontal directional drilling, that he had a big part in that.
Yes, that was I was still pretty young when all that came out and all, but yeah, I know that I've heard the stories that he was a part of a lot of that technology and different stuff. So it's interesting.
And you also had mentioned to me that like things were a lot different when he was a superintendent. Going out to the right of way with him and being able to be out there, and people remembered seeing you when you were real young.
Yes, that's correct. My twin brother and I, the first recollection that people had of us being on the right of way was in the back of my papa's Crown Vic. Because it's crazy. Today everybody's got jacked up trucks, and everything's muddy. You can't hardly get down the right of way. But the superintendents of old had cars that they drove down the right of way.
I can't imagine that.
I can't either. Not with the way the right of ways look today.
Right.
But the old saying he had was, if you want to run a race, you need to build a racetrack. And if you've got a really good right of way that you can get down, then you can get a lot of stuff done in a hurry.
Wow. Yeah. Well, very well said.
Yeah.
And that's true too, because I've been on plenty of right of ways where it takes longer to clean it up and get it ready for work than to do the actual work.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, so your grandfather was 798.
No, he was operating engineers.
He was operating engineers. Your dad was 798.
Correct.
And so how did your time in 798 evolve from being a member into being the director of organizing?
So I got in at a very young age. I worked myself. I actually worked when I was still in high school during the summer. I worked my way through college. My father had a unique aspect of paying for college, and so his thought was, okay, I'll help you pay for college. I'll give you a job during the summer, and so I paid my way through college. Got a degree in biology. Once I graduated, I had a couple of options: maybe take the MCAT, go to med school, or possibly go to work as a biologist somewhere. And I was like, I can go work pipeline and make the same money in 3 or 4 months. And so here I went right back to pipelining.
Yeah, I can relate to that. After I got my degree, I went to the oil field to pay for it.
Yes.
And looking back, I feel like I could have skipped all that and just went to work and got even more of an education, because you learn more by doing than by just absorbing material, I think. And so having hands-on experience there's a lot of value in just going straight to work. Now, if you want to go to college or you're afforded the opportunity, or like you said, that was a great balance to be able to work during the summer and then go to school. Mm-hmm. But it's really, especially nowadays, it seems like it's hard to imagine just going to college when there's perfectly good skilled trades that are ready and waiting where you can start a career early and not start your life in debt.
Exactly. Back whenever I was that age, it was always told, you need to go to college, you need to go to college, you need to go, and it's been that way for years, and it kind of leads into the whole deal about the shortage of workers, because everybody for the last 20 years has been pushed. Go to college. Go to college. You got to get a college degree, but you know you can skip that and go straight into oil and gas and make a really good living.
You can, and there's a lot of misconceptions about the industry too, and it's just I think it's vague and misunderstood, misrepresented a lot of times, and it's frowned upon. It's like the oil field is it's not consistent, and it's a hard way to live, and there are a lot of trade-offs. I mean, you have to compromise. You aren't going to be home every night. Maybe if you are from West Texas and you get in the oil field, you'll have that luxury, but a lot of times like there is travel. And you may have to wait on the work. Like there's obviously some pros and cons to the industry, but overall, like the job market is there. The trades are there. You can go straight into it as a helper, as a laborer, and if you get in the union, you've got a little bit of a track to work with. But I find it like just overall in the mainstream, it's really overlooked, and it's not encouraged. I think if it was more encouraged and more celebrated, I think there'd be more people doing it. We wouldn't have these gaps in the job market and the misunderstanding with the industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You know, they're saying that there's a need in the next couple of years for 300,000 additional welders. You know, and so that's a large gap to try to fill. Mm-hmm. And so there's plenty of opportunities out there. And you alluded to it. I mean, it's not a bed of roses all the time. It's good money. It's fast money, but you know, you're away from home. Some people can't deal with that. You know, your wife at home can't deal with you being gone. You know, sometimes people let their nightlife interfere with their day job. And there's a lot of trade-offs in this industry, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you do the right thing, it's a very admirable career to have, and you can make a really good living at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can be independent, and I mean you can decide a lot on when you're going to work or where you're going to work. And I mean, obviously you have limitations with that, but if you're set up and you have a good head on your shoulders and you've gotten a good start. And I mean, even like with welding, knowing different processes of welding, or work slows down, you can do something else. Or if you're in a union like 798, you have a network that's taking care of you, and you have the benefits and everything that comes with that. But I think, like in my experience, it's just not having enough education and knowing what's available. So when I started my podcast, that was a big part of it, was wanting anyone that's wanting to get in the industry or currently in it. It's like, here's just some different perspectives. You know, here's some different parts of the industry that you can get into, or you know, just continue to build your own career. People will get to a certain level and think that's it. And you can get stuck. It's really easy to get stuck, especially if maybe you're not doing what's right for you. Maybe you're trying to do what someone else is doing, or you're trying to work with your buddies, and you know you're not as successful as they are. I've seen that too, where it's like the lifestyle is difficult, but if you do have the understanding spouse, maybe a spouse that works with you, a lot of welders will carry their wives as their helper, and they work together, and that can work really great for some, maybe not for others. But it's more about like being able to manage all of it, because it's a lot. The undertaking, I think, of working in oil and gas, working pipeline especially, the uncertainty, being able to navigate that, because you know, chickens today, feathers tomorrow. That's a very real concept. And if you spend like you're always going to be working and making those checks on Friday, then I mean you can get in a bind real quick. If the job shuts down or you get laid off, anything can happen. And I mean we've all, I believe, fell victims to that at one point or another. You get used to it, and you think it's going to last forever, then it doesn't. But we've also had a lot of changes, in the last, I would say 10, 15 years with social media, and being able to communicate more effectively also makes a difference.
I agree. Yeah, there's been a lot of opportunity out there, especially here lately, for people to get into the industry, and it's just, it's only going to go up from here. We were in a boom for a long time, and alluding to the checks every week. We were probably in a major boom in the pipeline industry from, let's say, '08 to like 19, and so people that didn't grow up in the industry like I did, when I can remember being a kid, if my dad worked 6 months out of the year, that was like a great year. And if he worked like 8 or 9 months out of the year, I mean, it was living high on the hog. But we always managed living with a 6 month salary, and then when we went through that boom, everybody got used to getting a paycheck, 12 months out of the year. And pipeliners in general like shiny stuff. Shiny stuff's expensive, whether it's a side-by-side pickup, fifth wheel, whatever it is, that stuff costs a lot of money. And just as soon as those checks quit rolling in, there you are. And then you got all these banknotes, and then you're like, rut-row.
Right. Yeah. Well, and really like two households also. If you have a mortgage and all those shiny things, then you have your camper note and lot rent and just living on the road. Of course, you have per diem and all the things, but that adds up quick. And it's like you said, especially like a lot of those extras are expensive. And I mean, it can be a lot. And, with having a wife and kids at home and you being on the road, and it's just everybody's got their story, but learning it and always trying to do better the next time. But I agree with you also about it going up from here, because you mentioned also, which I found fascinating, the opportunities that are coming with the development of AI and data centers, and I found that very, very interesting, the perspective that you had.
Yes. So, the data centers, they're going up all over the country, and people are not going to put their phones down. It doesn't matter if you're pro oil and gas or not, but the data centers, the only way you're going to power the data center is through natural gas. It's the only reliable source that we have out there. And so you're going to have to build a pipeline to there. You're going to have to build a compressor station. You're going to have to build a powerhouse, all to power these things. And so the very ones that are so against fossil fuels are the very ones that will not put that phone down. So it's a catch-22. Yeah. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of work, especially for like the UA. We do the pipeline portion of it. There's 13 locals in the UA that have pipeline jurisdiction, but there's like 300 plus that do building trade work. And on the building trade work is what we refer to kind of as the plant work. The chip plants would be the building the data centers, et cetera. And so that work is just it's blown up all over the country. Like I told you, they're building over 100 data centers around Atlanta. And you're talking somewhere anywhere from 300 to 1,000 welders, fitters, sprinkler fitter type jobs.
Yeah, that's quite the opportunity for those that are hungry for the work and that know about it, and you really want to get after it, because I think also the complacency of wanting to do a certain type of work is we can fall victims to that as well. And because there's a lot of opportunities in welding, but making it as a rig welder can be tricky, because it's one trade, it's one process, and there's so much that goes into it for welders as far as having to test, and your papers only last so long anyway. And then the competition, it seems like there's always more competition coming up, but the local 798 and the support for rig welders and pipeline welders, like that's still just as strong as it's always been.
Yes, it is. And there is a lot of opportunities for our members to work as rig welders, but there's also opportunities for our members to work in what I said, the building and trades, right? So we can go and get our UA certs at the 798 Training Center and go work through a sister local, and you're still drawing benefits. You're still adding on to your retirement. You're still adding on to your health care. Most of those jobs are single hand. Most of those jobs are TIG work or uphill work, but it's still a good check, and you're still adding to your benefits. So if the pipeline slows down or whatever, there's an opportunity you go, and you don't lose your spot on the out of work list.
Oh, that's great too. That's good to know, because there's a lot of question whether you would want to work union or non-union as far as like being in the trades and pipeline. And it seems like there's a lot of benefits with being a part of 798. and like you said, the training school. There's opportunities like when they're not working that they can go to this training school in Tulsa, correct?
Yeah, the training center there. Yep. Yes, ma'am. They can go
Training
up there.
center.
We got full-time instructors there that, that know every welding process possible out there. And so you can go and if you don't know how to do the process from scratch, they'll show you. Or if you do know, you can go brush up on it and get your UA cert. And then you're eligible to go out on some of these building trade jobs.
Have there been a lot of welders that have taken advantage of that and expanded and explored those different processes and opportunities?
There has. There's two good jobs that were going on here in Texas. One's over here in Stephenville, and they're using the 9045, the downhill low hydrogen rod, which is a rod that gets used some in the pipeline industry, but it's not like your regular 8010 rod. And so what it is our members can come to the training center free of charge, and doesn't cost them any consumables, doesn't cost them anything, but they can come up there and they can weld with the 9045 rod, and to make sure that they're proficient with it. So if they do get a call to go down there on one of these projects that has the 9045, that they've already got brushed up and they're ready to roll when they get there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
And that has that been afforded to helpers as well that are wanting to break out as welders, or how does that work? So
the helpers can come there and work on some UA certs. Now for the 24-inch 500-watt downhill stuff, they occasionally have a welding school where they take so many students at once, and they put them through like a third of a year course, and so that's when the helpers can come and do the downhill. Okay, so they've got some opportunities in there as well. Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned before that as far as the out of work list, and like we talked about, it was a wheel. Now it's just an actual list that helpers can work as much as they want, mm-hmm. and that there's a lot of opportunity for them as well. Yes. Yeah. So it used to be like you said, the out of work wheel. And so actually your name would just revolve around the wheel. And when you got to the top, you got a call to go to work. And so, you could turn it down once, but the next time then you went to the bottom of the wheel. And, and so a lot of people on the non-union side, they say, I'm not going to have anybody tell me where I can work. And in a sense, that's the way the wheel worked. But nowadays what we have is the out of work list, and we have the job line. So welder foreman, which same as a weld boss on the non-union side, they call in, place an order for X amount of welders, helpers, journeymen. It goes on the job line at night. The member can call in after 6 p.m. Central Time. Any job on there in their classification that they want to apply for, they can. They can apply for all of them if they want to. And whoever has the lowest number gets the job. So it doesn't matter if you're number 1 or 1,000. If you're the lowest number, you're going to get the call the next morning and to be able to take the job. Last summer we had some guys that were going to work in the 900s, 1100s. On the welder side, and like I said, helpers can work all that they want to. The helper list usually stays pretty low, pretty depleted, and we have guys sometimes that do not want to go to work, whether they're inspecting, whether they're retired, maybe they're just waiting on the big enchilada that's right at their house to come by or something, but there's the union. It's pretty much like anything else. It's what you make of it, mm-hmm. right? How much are you going to sell yourself, right? Because it's, I know on the non-union side, you go out, you make your name, you make your reputation, your work's going to speak for itself. That's the same way on the union side. Mm-hmm. 50% of the folks on a mainline job are going to come through the union hall dispatched. The other 50% are going to get hired by the welder foreman, so. The welder foreman, you get dispatched to him. He sees what you can do. He sees that you show up to work on time, that you got a good attitude, that you make good welds, or you're a good helper. He's probably going to hire you on the next one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, the trade-off, it's the same. Like, you still have to make a name for yourself. You have to get after it, mm-hmm. and you have to be willing to show up. I mean, there's a lot.
I've seen over the years, it's like getting a call to go to a pipeline job and actually getting to it are two different experiences. Yeah, and so sometimes, I mean, it's hard to get there, especially with union work. Like, I mean, these guys are traveling across the country. A lot of non-union, like we talked about in West Texas, it makes sense if they're from Midland and all the work that they do is less than 100 miles from the house. There's not really a reason as far as getting help with work. That wouldn't be a reason for them to join the union. But other benefits are obvious with retirement and, like you said, 401k and the access to the training center and having the network that is going to keep you working. Like if you don't have a network built up or you don't know where the work is, if you're on that out of work list with 798 and someone's actually calling you and telling you where to go, that can be helpful for some.
It could be, yes. Yep. And you're right. It's, you got to build that network, no matter what job you do, pipeline or anything in life, you got to build that network. And that's exactly what guys do when they come in. Well, guys come over from the non-union side. It is a little bit of a transition, but we've had several guys come in my 3 years that, have come in, they've worked a job, and I mean, they stay hired out all they want because they came in with the right attitude and they came to work. There's a lot of stigma sometimes, like the union guys, they don't have to work as hard. That's false. That's false. We get paid an honest day's wage for an honest day's living. I mean, for honest day's wage for honest day's work. Mm-hmm. And so, you're out there and you're working. We have some welder foremans out there that are artists at lining the work out, and they'll make sure that you're giving them all you can get.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that argument could go back and forth. It's really it's more of what's right for you and what's right for your family and what makes sense. But I mean, I definitely see the benefits of someone that would want to be a part of the union, especially nowadays. Really, again, with the family legacy and the pride and wanting to preserve the culture, I think that's just as important as the rest of it when you're a member of an organization like that.
Yes, I agree. So in December, 798 turned 76 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's not going anywhere. Right. So there's, we're right at just under 6,000 members and so it's, the work's coming. It's going to be an opportunity to grow. It's going to be, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And like you said, the major difference between the union and non-union, it doesn't have anything to do with the work. It doesn't have anything to do with the welding. You're doing the exact same thing. The major difference is you're getting a paycheck today and for the future, right? I mean, pipeliners, you and I both being one, not very good at saving money.
Right.
Right? One thing about being in the union, right? So like you alluded to, I mean, the contractor's paying $8.50 an hour into your 401k for you. They're paying into your health care. They're paying into your pension. They're paying into our training center on your behalf. And none of that comes out of your check. That's a $36 benefit package that the contractor pays on your behalf. So even if union and non-union welders made the exact same money on the arm and the exact same money on the rig and the exact same money on the per diem, the union guy's still making $36 an hour more. Mm-hmm. But they don't make the same wage. That's a problem. And younger folks, they don't look at the benefits. But when you get to my age and your hair starts turning a little bit lighter, you start looking at that and you look at those calculations and you look and see how much money you can draw per month when you get to retirement age. And we got guys that are drawing more than $10,000 a month off their pension. And that doesn't count what their 401k builds up. I mean, there's several of our guys I know that's got 401ks that's worth more than $1 million.
Wow.
And so you can contribute to the 401k, but you don't have to. The contractor's going to contribute on your behalf. Mm-hmm. So it's, to me, that's the biggest deal is the backside benefits.
Yeah, like really looking more long term, not short term. What's right in front of you. Yep. But that's been the oil and gas industry. That boom and bust mindset, and especially as long as I worked in West Texas and with different types of contractors and in different capacities, it's like there's always that mentality with some with that sense of urgency, like you've got to get in and hold on to it because it's going to fall apart any minute. And so there isn't long-term strategy. There's not long-term thinking. But I think that just as the way the industry has evolved recently with technology and better communication, social media, and I mean, and not even just social media, like sharing the work, but like seeing where the work is, what's happening. There's been a lot of changes. And I mean, we can all fall through the cracks when things change, or you can see the opportunity because there's one there. There is always going to be something there. It may not be what you want it to be. It may not look exactly the same, but there's so much. But when we always have that sense of impending doom that something is going to end, then you get a lot of that short term thinking. But with pipeline, if you've always pipeline, you know what's going to come to an end because every job does. You have to be able to move through the uncertainty and in those changing times.
Yes, you're exactly right. And it can change just like that. I mean, Keystone XL got canceled.
Yeah.
Day one presidency. I mean, the door slammed, right in our face. But with the AI, like we talked about, with the LNG, with the need for energy independence, for the grid reliability, there's so many things stacked in favor of oil and gas right now that it's going to take a major catastrophe to shut this train down. I've heard 7 years, I've heard 10 years. There's a lot of talk about this work that's coming and this boom that's coming. And also, not saying go write a bunch of checks on it, but there's going to be plenty of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
And the whole the mentality about I need to work every day. I need to work 12 months out of the year. And I kind of touched on it a little bit, but when you work out of 798 in particular, you can work 6.5, 7 months and make the exact same money that a non-union welder makes in 12. That's leaving the benefits aside. That's just on the check and on a truck.
Wow.
So, if you're doing the same thing, why don't you want the same money?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I can see that. And I mean, I'm obviously impartial, but I can clearly see the benefits of being in 798, that there are more benefits to it. But as a non-union, you have your freedom and your independence to do as you please, but you are going to lose out on some of those long-term benefits and the support of the organization and the network. And as it's growing, something that you'd mentioned to me briefly when we spoke before was the apprenticeship program that's coming into.
Yes. So 798 is starting an apprenticeship program. It's first nationwide apprenticeship program to start in the last 20 years, I believe. So it's going to be all accredited through the DOL. The guys at the training center have a whole lot more information on it than I do, but it's we're excited about it. Because you're going to bring in these young men and women and teach them from the ground up. And once they go through the 5-year apprenticeship, they're going to be the most skilled welder journeyman that we've ever produced out of 798.
So it's a 5-year program.
It is.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I bet they'll be very proficient in a lot of things by the time they get finished.
Yep. And it's they get in, they get accepted. It's they get a lot of on the job training, so they're getting paid, right? It's not like and going to trade school, and I'm not against trade schools, but you're not having to pay to go through the apprenticeship. You're getting paid while you're going through the apprenticeship.
I think that, in my opinion, I think that's the best way that you can do it because, one, like you said, we have a need of 300,000 welders. So putting these kids through a trade school, they're still in school. They're not in the labor force. They're not getting that hands-on experience. They're not making money, and they're not filling those job gaps. So doing the apprenticeship program, they're already ahead of the curve, and able to get that real world experience while they're earning an income.
Yeah, and most of the trade schools are teaching the kids to do the plant work, the building trade work. They're not actually teaching them to do to do pipeline work. So some of the students that come out of trade school, they do come into pipeline, and they come in as helpers, and that helps help fill some of the gaps, but they're not teaching them how to pipeline weld. And anybody that's been on the pipeline knows that you're going to learn out there in that dirt.
Yeah.
You're not going to learn in a school.
Yes, I have learned to be a helper on the pipeline and in a plant. So I am very aware of the hands-on learning and the hands-on personalities that come with the learning. So it's an interesting, way, like just getting thrown into it. But I couldn't imagine going to a school and then going and doing that. Like you can learn a lot real quick, especially if you have a knack for it. Like, I mean, I did fine on the pipeline. Now, being a helper and doing fabrication work, that's totally different. And there's a lot more the responsibility for a helper of what you're having to do, with cutting pipe and, measuring and reading ISOs. And looking back, I can do all of that now. I much prefer to do it all on paper like I've done as a QC, but as a helper, I've learned the trade and I understood what they were doing, understood the process of it, the building, and there's a lot of different appendages to that. Now, being a helper on the pipeline, it's very repetitive. So you're going to learn quickly how it's done because that doesn't change.
Yep. Yeah, string, lean, and clean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
you got to get after it, though. You need to be moving quick.
Yeah, but the apprenticeship's going to touch it'll touch all of that stuff. It'll touch the fabrication. It'll touch hydrostatic testing. It'll touch in-facing, mechanized welding, building trades welding. It'll touch every aspect of work that the UA does.
I love that. Fitting. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I'd love to see more of that, the apprenticeship. And there was one, I had an episode I did ways back, probably a year and a half ago, and it was with an electrical company, and they were talking about how they hire kids out of high school, and they'll teach them how to do everything from the ground up in electrical, and give them that opportunity because it's much easier for them to train someone that has no experience than someone that comes over maybe thinking they know everything or just trying to fill the job gaps. Like, well, we can teach them ourselves.
Exactly.
and get that hands on. And then, like, of course, like when you're first starting out, like you're digging ditch, you're using a shovel, like you're not, there's not a whole lot that you're having to learn. It's more of the, really kind of putting in your time, paying your dues. I mean, it can be rough, but I think it's just one, knowing the jobs are available and then having people actually want to go to work. I think our biggest obstacles that we have, but having an apprenticeship program with an organization that's already established, I feel like you're already set up for success for anyone that goes through the program because, like you said, 798 is 76 years old. It's very established, and I think what we need moving forward is that stronger, skilled workforce, not just come out here, figure it out, good luck. Because you get a lot of people that will just get, they'll get swept away. They because they don't understand. It can be a lot just to show up. The work isn't necessarily always hard. But the lifestyle is, and really like grasping the magnitude of it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you don't know anything about the industry and all you've done is followed some people on social media or something, and when you do get the opportunity, it can be very overwhelming because it's fast paced.
Yeah.
Right, and you're going to hit the ground running, and you're not going to get talked to like you're in Sunday school.
No,
and if you get in with the wrong crowd, I mean, you can go down a road that you don't need to go down, and it can be a heck of a turmoil. So
yes,
it's it can be really great, or it can be a disaster.
Well, mentorship is really powerful. You get in with someone that's been doing it a long time, that's just there to work and is a teacher or at least patient enough and showing you how to do things. I mean, I've worked for some welders that you need to know what you're doing, and that is it. And others that are really just to enjoy the process of teaching and explaining. And but then you do have those that are there for quitting time, and that's when the real work starts.
That's right. Yep.
And it can be like the lifestyle can overtake the work,
It can.
and it can ruin a lot of lives, and I've seen it, and it can be it can definitely be that double-edged sword where you have to have your head on straight and you need to be there for the work.
Yep.
But going through an apprenticeship program, I'm sure after, I mean, 5 years of that training, that's going to be really amazing to see the outcome of that. I'm sure it will be successful.
Yes. It's going to be a good deal. Yeah. Like I said, we'll produce the best quality welder journeyman that we've ever had come through 798.
And that's something else to be proud of. So with 798, again, we've talked about the benefits of being in it, the network, the legacy, but also one of the key differences that you've mentioned are the wages, and the wages that you will make being in a union compared to what the wages may be if you're working non-union.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for 798, the welder journeyman rate is $58 an hour. The rig rate, it just went up to $23 an hour, and the per diem is $165 7 days a week. Okay, that's on the National Pipeline Agreement scale. We have some different addenda scales for some integrity maintenance and stuff like that. It goes down to about 54, and then to 49, I believe it is. But no matter what scale you're working under, you're still getting your benefits. Benefits are still, one for one. And so, typically from what we're hearing on the non-union side, it's anywhere from 35 to $42 an hour. So if you take the lowest scale that 798's got, it's still a good bit more than what the non-union makes.
Mm-hmm.
Not counting the benefits again on top of that, and the rig pay, what we go by is the IRS deemed substantiated rate. So what that is, the IRS sets a rate that says that the contractor can pay you up to X amount. Okay, and so they reevaluate it every year. It did change this year. And so there's a wet rate and a dry rate. So if you provide the fuel, then it's one price, and then if they provide the fuel, it's another price, which is $14 an hour. And so what that means is it doesn't cost. They can pay you up to that amount, and you don't have to claim it on your taxes. And so a lot of times we are hearing that the non-union side, they're paying $15-16 an hour. Again, you're driving the exact same pickup, right? You got the same $100,000 pickup that the union guys got.
Mm-hmm.
You got the same $20,000-30,000 welding machine. One thing on the union side though is we don't supply jack stands. We don't supply beveling bands. We don't buy our own gloves. OSHA passed a rule back in 2007 that welding gloves was part of PPE. Welding sleeves is part of PPE. So a lot of times the contractor will say something to the effect that those are specialty gloves. Well, OSHA doesn't think so, and so we get our gloves and stuff provided, water and ice and et cetera. So, it's a lot of difference, than in the money and the benefits, like we keep going back to. But it's not everybody wants to do it. Not everybody wants to travel. Right. Some people want to stay close to home, and I understand that. And so maybe there's an opportunity, if you're working close to home, maybe there's an opportunity for you to join the union or bring the union to where you're at.
That's true. Now that seems like that could be potentially when someone would join the union, if the work showed up near them and there was the opportunity. Maybe there was a lot, because how does it work for someone to join 798? There's an application process.
There is. Yep. There's an application that you put in. And then when we have a job that goes unfilled by the membership, then there's an opportunity to add new folks, and so, you have your application on file. You've probably talked to somebody on staff at some point in time, kind of got a feel for you. And then when that opportunity goes unfilled, then, if you get the call, then you'll get offered the job wherever it may be. And then, you take the job and go take your test, and then after 80 hours, then you're eligible for membership. So,
I mean, it's still a process, though. You have to really want to do it.
It is a process. It is. Yep. It's and then you have to pay the initiation fees and all, but a guy like me that's got 38 years in, I mean, it's well worth the ride.
Right.
I can. I'm not to the finish line, but I can see the finish line. I can start seeing the little dim light at the end of the tunnel, and I know what I'm looking at when I do retire. And so it's it makes you feel good about your future.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I can imagine looking in hindsight, like you obviously made the right choice. And I mean, of course, for many reasons, you would have been in 798. But for the younger generation coming up, is it an easy sell for them to be able to see it the same way, or what kind of response do you get from the younger generation? Are they more union or non-union?
So we kind of get both, right? So you get some, and it's different regions of the country. Okay, so some that are in heavily anti-union areas, you couldn't convince them that their car was on fire if they were smoking. But because they've just had rhetoric thrown at them for the whole time. Now you get other guys that are some other part of the country, and they're like, hey, I heard about this union. You guys got benefits, plus you make more per hour. And so they look at it a little bit differently. When I was young, I didn't give two flips about benefits. I'm just fortunate enough that my dad, pushed me in that direction. But it's hard to get a 18, 19, 20-year-old young man, young woman to think about, hey, I need insurance. Hey, I need this retirement. And so a lot of times they don't see that. And then the traveling, right? Because we do cover 42 states. And so there's who knows where you're liable to be in the country. And a lot of people, they want to work within that 100-mile radius. I get it. They want to sleep in their own bed. There's a cost to work union. I mean, you're going to travel. I've been to 47 of the 48 continental United States, so you're going to travel, you're going to be out there, and you're going to have to, you just got to figure it out. If you got a wife and kids, you got to figure it out. I mean, there is a high divorce rate in this industry.
Yes, there is.
Luckily,
yes, there is.
Yeah, my wife and I, we're still doing good.
That's good. Same. I've been to 47 of the 48, and it's you have to enjoy the travel, the adventure, the uncertainty. You have to embrace it. But I can see where you're either leery of that if you've not ever traveled, or you can get burnt out and you just wish you could, work 100 miles from the house just one time, just for the experience of it. And people make it work, whether your family travels with you or visits during the summer, or like you said, if you're only working 6 to 7 months out of the year. But that is definitely something to be aware of. Anyone that's wanting to work pipeline, work union pipeline, it's good money, and there's a lot of opportunity, but you got to pay the price. And that price can be pretty high for some, and it's not for everyone. But I mean, what a fantastic opportunity if you choose to be a part of the organization, and you're fortunate to be able to be in it like for almost 40 years, like you have. So obviously, there's the benefits speak for themselves.
They do. Yeah. As a kid, which I traveled. We got to go to places that you get to go to places you never go on family vacation. My kids have been to probably every amusement park in the Northeast because I spent a lot of time in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
So they've been to almost every major baseball park around. So there is opportunities that you can take advantage of being in places around the country to work. Sometimes the kids don't want to give up their summer and come stay with dad in the fifth wheel and who knows where, USA.
Yeah.
But they get to see a lot of things. They get a lot of culture, and so that is a very good trade-off with this career.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a lot of pros. And I mean, again, just with oil and gas in general, like it's tough. It can be brutal, the long hours and the travel, but the benefits of it, obviously great careers, opportunities, like you said, the culture, seeing different parts of the country and some different parts of the world.
Hmm.
And but it's definitely something you have to learn. It can be an acquired taste. It's something that you don't just learn it all at once. Like you really got to understand the lifestyle.
Yes.
And even for me, I don't pipeline anymore. I don't even work in the field anymore. But knowing the industry the way that I do, it's still cyclical. There's still a lot to understand. It's always changing, and that can wear on you. And so it's setting yourself up for success, having a solid network, having some benefits and security underneath you. That's going to go a long way.
I totally agree. Yeah, you just, like I said before, you sell yourself, right? You go out, you work hard, you make that network. You hone your skills. You want to make sure that you're at the top of your game, and just go out there and do it. It's going to work out,
Yeah.
right? But don't overlive your means.
That's right. That's the one thing to always remember. It seems like we don't ever learn that lesson well enough, but once you do and you save and you don't live with that check every Friday, you can make it work.
You can. It's I really enjoyed this career. I mean, there's been some ups and downs for sure. I mean, you're gone for extended period of time, and you get to where you miss home, you miss ball games, you miss birthdays, But I said now I'm at the point in my career where I can see the finish line out there, and so it's going to be okay.
And I bet looking back, you wouldn't change anything. You'd still pipeline.
I wouldn't change anything. No, it gets in your blood.
Yeah.
Right. It gets in your blood. So, and that's one thing I would say to the young folks. If you're dabbling in this and you're not really serious, you may want to just get out of the way and do something, because once you get a taste of it, it's addictive.
Right.
I mean, you're going to get hooked. It's like, it's almost like a drug. When you get into the oil and gas industry and the pipeline industry, it gets a hold to you. I mean, it's not a lifestyle that everybody can lead. It's kind of like a gypsy, nomadic, vagabond kind of lifestyle. But if you like it, you love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want to go on the next job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pipeliners are very unique. I mean, you call and you're like, hey, I need to go to work. And as soon as you get hired out and you get on the job, first question you ask is, when's it going to be over?
Yeah. Yep, you're waiting for those 2 checks.
Yeah.
Oh man, what an interesting life. But glad to hear that. I mean, the optimism about the industry and what we're looking towards with LNG, with the data centers and all the opportunities in the future. And I mean, there's obviously plenty of work. We're needing 300,000 welders in the future. So I mean, this is a great time to consider this as a career path.
Yes, I agree. The opportunities are immense, and like I mentioned, they're talking, 5 to 7 to 10 years, and who knows from there? What's the next big energy driver?
That's right.
Because I mean, natural gas and oil are not going away. I don't care what they say; they're not going away. And you can't AI your way out of it.
No, you cannot. That's definitely something that isn't going to be replaced with
exactly.
With artificial intelligence. Well, Chad, I've really enjoyed this. I appreciate you coming on and talking about your experience with the pipeline and with 798. So thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. And thank you, everyone, for watching Power of the Permian. We'll see you next time.